You are earning decent money now, certainly more than you were 5 years ago, perhaps even significantly more. Yet your bank account balance remains roughly where it was back then. The financial pressure hasn't gone away. Your real goals, the ones that would truly transform your life, feel just as out of reach as they did when your salary was lower. You have upgraded your apartment, your vehicle, your clothes, the restaurants you visit, your digital subscriptions, and your overall lifestyle. Everything expanded to consume your income. Somehow, despite earning more than ever, you feel just as stuck as you did before. Meanwhile, you read about individuals who earn less than you but have six figures invested. You see peers buying homes while you are still trying to figure out how to establish a meaningful emergency fund. You wonder what they know that you don't, what system they are utilizing, or what secret you might have missed. Here is the uncomfortable truth. There is no secret. There is only a system, a specific method for allocating every single dollar that enters your account. Wealthy people do not manage money better because they have more of it. They have more of it because they manage it better. The habits come first and the wealth follows. This breakdown explains exactly how to manage your money like the top 1%. This isn't theory or vague advice about spending less. It is a concrete system you can implement this week, regardless of your current earnings. Let's dive in. The core principle is that it is not about how much you make. Before we explore the system, this concept must sink in completely. Your income is not your problem. Your system is the problem, or more accurately, your lack of one. Over 60% of Americans earning six figures still live paycheck to paycheck. They earn more than most people in the country and should be building wealth effortlessly. Instead, they are trapped in the same cycle as everyone else, just with nicer furniture. How is this possible? It happens because spending expands to fill available income. Without a system that directs money before you see it, lifestyle absorbs everything. The raise disappears, the bonus vanishes, the side income gets consumed. You scale up your life to match whatever you earn, and the margin never materializes. The 1% don't avoid this trap because they are smarter or more disciplined. They avoid it because they use systems that make good decisions automatic. They structure their finances so the right things happen without requiring willpower, attention, or daily choices. That is what I am providing today. A structure, a rule, and a way to make wealth building automatic instead of aspirational. The framework is the 15-50-20-15 rule. Here is the system, broken into four buckets that cover every dollar you earn. You have probably heard other rules before, like the 50-30-20, the 75-10-15, or the 15-65-20. They all attempt to solve the same problem, but most make a critical mistake. They either skimp on investing, ignore the emergency fund entirely, or lump everything together in ways that allow lifestyle creep to go unchecked. The 15-50-20-15 rule fixes this by treating both your future wealth and your financial stability as non-negotiable priorities, while still providing real room to enjoy your life. Every bucket has a purpose. Nothing is left to chance. 15% goes to your future self, investments that compound over time. 50% goes to essentials, the true cost of keeping your life running. 20% goes to lifestyle, the things that make life enjoyable without derailing your finances. 15% goes to your stability fund, the cushion that protects everything else. 15-50-20-15. Every dollar has a job before it hits your account. Nothing sits around waiting for a purpose. Nothing gets accidentally absorbed by lifestyle creep. Let me break down each bucket and show you exactly how to implement it. The first 15% is for paying your future self. This is the money that works while you sleep, the money that compounds, and the money that eventually makes working optional. Most people treat investing as something that happens with leftovers. Whatever remains after bills, after lifestyle, and after unexpected expenses is what supposedly goes toward the future, which usually means nothing goes toward the future because nothing ever remains. The 1% flip this completely. The first money that moves when income arrives goes directly to investments, not last but first. It moves before lifestyle has a chance to consume it and before you even see it sitting in your account looking spendable. This single habit of paying your future self first separates people who build wealth from people who earn well but stay broke. Here is why the math matters so much. Someone who invests $300 monthly starting at age 25 will have roughly $1.2 million by age 65, assuming average market returns around 10%. Someone who waits until age 35 and invests the same amount monthly ends up with around $500,000. 10 years of delay costs over $700,000. The difference isn't the monthly amount, it is time. Compound growth is exponential. Early money has decades to multiply. Late money barely has time to grow. Every year you delay is an advantage you never get back. So where does this 15% actually go? Start with tax-advantaged accounts. In 2026, you can contribute up to $24,500 annually to a 401k, with an additional $8,000 in catch-up contributions if you are over 50. For a Roth IRA, the limit is $7,500 plus $100 extra if you are 50 or older. If your employer offers a 401k match, that is free money, 100% return before your investment even grows. Max out whatever they will match before doing anything else. After that, prioritize a Roth IRA. Money goes in after taxes, but it grows completely tax-free. When you withdraw in retirement, you pay nothing on the gains. Peter Thiel famously grew his Roth IRA to over $5 billion, and he will pay zero taxes when he withdraws it. Once you have maxed tax-advantaged accounts, additional investments go into a regular taxable brokerage account. What do you actually invest in? Keep it simple. An index fund tracking the total stock market or the S&P 500 requires no expertise, no stock picking, and no timing the market. You are buying a small piece of hundreds of companies at once. Historically, these funds have averaged around 10% annual returns over long periods. Set up automatic monthly purchases and let compound growth do what it does. The key is automation. The 15% should transfer automatically the moment your paycheck arrives. You never see it. You never decide whether this month is a good month to invest. The system handles it without your involvement. The 50% is for essentials that actually keep you alive. Half your income, maximum, goes to the things that keep life running. Housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, and minimum debt payments. The baseline cost of existence. Notice what is not on that list. Restaurants, entertainment, subscriptions, shopping, and new clothes beyond basic necessities. Those are not essentials. They are lifestyle, and they belong in a different bucket. Most people blur this line constantly. They tell themselves dining out's essential because they need to eat. They categorize the gym membership as essential because health matters. They count streaming services as essential because what else are they supposed to do? That is how 50% becomes 65%, then 70%, and then you are wondering why there is nothing left for savings despite making good money. The 50% cap forces honesty. It requires actually distinguishing between what keeps you alive and what keeps you comfortable. Comfort is fine. It just comes from a different bucket with a hard limit. Here is how to make this work. First, audit your actual spending. Most people have no idea where their money goes. Pull 3 months of bank statements and categorize every transaction. The picture that emerges will probably be uncomfortable, and that discomfort is exactly the point. Second, identify the 2 categories that matter most: housing and transportation. These are typically the largest expenses and where lifestyle creep does the most damage. Housing should ideally stay below 25% to 30% of your income. In expensive cities, that might require roommates, a longer commute, or a smaller space than you would prefer. The discomfort is temporary. The financial margin it creates is permanent. Transportation is the silent wealth killer. The average new car payment exceeds $770 monthly in 2026. Add insurance, gas, maintenance, and parking, and you are easily looking at over $1,000 monthly to own a depreciating asset. Buy used, buy reliable, buy something that gets you from point A to point B without draining your wealth building capacity. The millionaire next door drives a Toyota, not a BMW. The status you are trying to project with an expensive car impresses people who don't matter while robbing your future self of compound growth. Third, eliminate the waste you are not seeing. Audit subscriptions ruthlessly. Cancel anything you haven't used in 30 days. Negotiate bills like internet, insurance, and phone plans. Switch to cheaper alternatives where quality is functionally identical. The goal isn't deprivation, it is intentionality. Know exactly what your essentials cost and keep them at or below 50%. Protect the margin that funds everything else. The 20% lifestyle bucket is what ensures you don't derail. Here is where most financial advice goes wrong. It treats every non-essential expense as a problem to eliminate. It creates a framework of deprivation that feels like punishment, and then people abandon the whole system because saving feels pointless if life has no enjoyment. The 1% don't live like monks. They spend money on things they enjoy. They just do it within defined limits that protect their long-term goals. 20% of your income goes to lifestyle. Restaurants, entertainment, vacations, hobbies, the gym, coffee shops, and clothes beyond bare necessities. Anything that makes life enjoyable but isn't strictly required for survival goes here. This isn't an afterthought. It is a built-in component of the system. Guilt-free spending that has been planned for in advance. Why does this matter? Because restriction without release leads to explosion. Studies consistently show that people who build small indulgences into their financial plans stick with those plans far longer than people who try to eliminate all discretionary spending. The psychology mirrors dieting. Extreme restriction leads to binge behavior. Sustainable approaches include room for treats. 20% gives you that room. It is not unlimited or reckless, but it is real. You can enjoy dinners out, trips with friends, and hobbies that cost money, all without derailing your financial future. The key is separating this money visually. Consider a dedicated account for lifestyle spending. When the paycheck arrives, 20% transfers automatically to this account. That is your spending money for the month. When it is gone, it is gone. You wait until next month. This structure does two things. First, it makes spending feel guilt-free because you know the other buckets are already funded. Second, it creates natural limits that prevent lifestyle from expanding beyond what the system can support. Prioritize experiences over things. Vacations create memories. Social events strengthen relationships. Hobbies develop skills and relieve stress. Physical objects provide diminishing satisfaction after the initial purchase excitement fades. The 1% tend to spend on experiences that appreciate in value, relationships, health, and personal growth, rather than material goods that depreciate the moment they are acquired. Their 20% goes further because it is directed toward things that actually improve quality of life, rather than just filling closets. The final 15% is for stability that protects everything else. This is the money most people skip. The cushion, the emergency fund, the margin of safety that keeps one bad month from destroying years of progress. Without this buffer, everything else becomes fragile. One job loss, one medical bill, or one car breakdown, and suddenly you are liquidating investments at a bad time or running up credit card debt. Watching the system collapse because there was no shock absorber, 15% of your income goes toward building and maintaining a stability fund equal to 5 months of essential expenses. Not total expenses, essential expenses. That is the 50% bucket we discussed earlier. If your essentials run $2,000 monthly, your stability fund target is $10,000. If they run $3,000, you are aiming for $15,000. Why 5 months? Because real emergencies rarely resolve quickly. Job searches take time. Medical recovery take time. The crises that actually threaten financial stability aren't solved in a few weeks. 5 months gives you genuine breathing room to handle problems without panic. Where does this money live? A high-yield savings account paying 4% to 5% APY, which is readily available in 2026 from online banks. Not the 0.07% your traditional bank offers. Not invested in the stock market where it could be down 30% exactly when you need it. High-yield savings, liquid, accessible within 24 hours, and earning meaningful interest while it waits. The Stability Fund has 3 rules. First, it must be easy to access. No accounts with withdrawal penalties or waiting periods. When emergencies hit, you need speed. Second, it must be zero risk. This is not growth money, it is protection money. The stock market doesn't belong here, nor does crypto or anything else that fluctuates in value. Third, it must earn something. Parking cash in a zero-interest account means inflation eats away at it over time. The high-yield savings account solves this. Your stability fund grows modestly while remaining fully liquid and risk-free. Once you have hit your stability fund target, the 15% can redirect toward growth, more investments, and accelerated wealth building. But until that cushion exists, it takes priority. Making the system automatic is crucial. The 1% don't rely on willpower. They don't make monthly decisions about how much to save or invest. They set up systems that execute automatically, then focus their attention on earning more. Here is how to implement the 15-50-20-15 rule without ongoing effort. The day your paycheck arrives, automatic transfers should already be scheduled. 15% goes directly to investment accounts. 15% goes to the high-yield savings account for your stability fund. 20% goes to a separate lifestyle spending account. What remains, 50%, stays in checking for essentials. You never see the full paycheck sitting in your account looking spendable. By the time you log in, the money has already been allocated. The decision was made in advance. The system executed without requiring your attention. This is how wealthy people manage money, not through constant vigilance, but through architecture that makes good choices automatic. Set it up once. Check quarterly to make sure the percentages still make sense. Otherwise, forget about it and focus on the only thing that actually matters for acceleration: increasing your income. The mindset shift from spending to owning is what separates the 1% from everyone else. It is not the specific percentages or the tax strategies. It is a fundamental shift in how they think about money. Most people earn money to spend it. They work to afford things. Their financial life is a cycle of earning and consuming, with occasional guilt-ridden attempts to save whatever remains. The wealthy earn money to own things, not physical things, but assets, investments, and pieces of businesses. These are income-producing holdings that grow over time and eventually generate money without requiring additional work. Every dollar invested in an index fund buys ownership in hundreds of companies. Those companies have employees working, products selling, and profits compounding, all of which increases the value of your ownership stake while you sleep. This is what making your money work for you actually means. It is not a vague platitude. It is a literal description of what happens when you own assets that appreciate. The 15% going to your future self isn't disappearing. It is buying ownership. Year after year, that ownership compounds. Eventually, the income from what you own exceeds the income from what you do. That is financial independence. That is how the 1% actually became the 1%. Very few wealthy people got there by saving their way to riches. They got there by owning things that grew faster than they could ever earn through labor alone. The acceleration principle also matters. The 15-50-20-15 rule works at any income level. Someone making $50,000 annually can implement it, and someone making $500,000 can implement the same percentages. But let's be honest. The person making $500,000 will build wealth faster simply because the dollar amounts are larger. This is why the final piece of the system isn't about allocation. It is about acceleration. Once your system is running automatically, your focus should shift to increasing income. Negotiate your salary. Develop skills that command premium compensation. Build side income. Start a business. Find ways to increase the numerator. The 15% going to investments doesn't care whether it comes from a raise, a side hustle, or a business you built. It just needs to grow. And when income increases while lifestyle stays fixed, the percentages get even more powerful. Someone earning $100 with this system invests $15,000 annually. If they double their income to $200,000 while keeping lifestyle stable, they are now investing $30,000 annually, plus whatever additional percentage they can carve from the extra income. This is how wealth accelerates. Systems create the foundation, and income growth provides the fuel. Both matter, and neither alone is sufficient. Here is what this all comes down to. Every principle discussed, the automatic allocation, the tax-advantaged accounts, the emergency fund, the compound growth, the lifestyle boundaries, and the ownership mindset, traces back to one underlying issue: financial literacy. The reason most people don't manage money like the 1% isn't laziness or irresponsibility. It is that nobody ever taught them how money actually works. School didn't cover it, and parents probably didn't understand it themselves. The knowledge that separates wealth builders from paycheck to paycheck earners simply wasn't transmitted. I made a complete breakdown of financial literacy that covers everything the school system skipped. how debt compounds against you, how credit scores are calculated and why they matter, how retirement accounts create tax advantages most people never use, and how to build systems that make good decisions automatic so you don't have to rely on willpower alone. The link is right here. If anything in this video felt like information you should have learned years ago, that video fills in the gaps. Because here's the truth. The 15-50-20-15 rule only works if you understand why each piece matters. The wealthy didn't just stumble onto good habits. They learned how money functions and then designed their lives around that knowledge. You can have the same understanding. You can build the same systems. You can manage your money like the 1%, even if you are starting from zero, even if you are starting late, and even if everything you have done until now has been the opposite of what is recommended. The past doesn't determine the future. Your system does. Set up the automatic transfers this week. Open the accounts you don't have yet. Start the 15% even if it feels uncomfortable. Build the stability fund. Cap the lifestyle at 20%. 1 year from now, you will be in a completely different position. 5 years from now, the compound effects will be undeniable. 20 years from now, you will understand exactly how people build wealth that seems impossible from the outside. It was never a secret. It was always a system. Now you have one. If this system changed the way you look at every dollar in your account, please subscribe and like the video. We are uncovering the financial blueprints that have been kept from the masses for far too long. Start building your legacy today. The next wealth-building treasure will be revealed soon.